Jill Sobule, the trailblazing singer-songwriter who captured hearts and sparked cultural conversation with her iconic 1995 hits, I Kissed a Girl and Supermodel, has tragically passed away at the age of 66. Her untimely death confirmed. Early Thursday morning occurred during a devastating house fire, as reported by her publicity firm, in a solemn and emotional statement that left fans and the music industry in mourning. Her loss reverberates far beyond the music world. It echoes through the decades of social change she helped soundtrack with her fearless voice, unwavering authenticity, and gentle wit. Born in Denver, Colorado, Jill Sobule was more than just a musician. She was a pioneer, a poet with a guitar, a queer icon, and a social commentator wrapped into a 5-foot frame of rebellious spirit and compassionate heart. When she first stepped into the spotlight, the world wasn't yet ready for the kind of raw honesty she offered. But she sang anyway. She sang because there were things that needed to be said, even when others weren't saying them. And in doing so, she gave a voice to the voiceless and a soundtrack to those struggling to find themselves in a world that often demanded conformity. In 1995, Sobule released what would become her self-titled breakthrough album, and with it, the world received 2 songs that would ultimately define not only her career, but also an entire generation's cultural awakening. I Kissed a Girl wasn't just a catchy pop tune, it was a quiet revolution. Long before mainstream music dared to openly explore LGBTQ+ themes with sensitivity and nuance, Jill did just that. The song wasn't salacious or ironic, it was tender, bold, and real. It offered a glimpse into a moment of discovery and the complex emotions that came with it. It wasn't written for shock value, it was written for truth. And it resonated. For many, it was the first time they heard a song that reflected their own questioning, their own journey, their own truth. It charted on the Billboard Top 20, making history as one of the first openly LGBTQ-themed songs to reach such mainstream success. And then there was Supermodel, the irreverent anthem of adolescent insecurity and rebellious self-love. With a sharp tongue and a disarming smile, Sobule's Supermodel exploded into pop culture consciousness after being featured in the hit teen comedy Clueless. The film, which became an instant classic, introduced a generation of young people to Sobule's sly humor and biting social commentary. The song's placement in the film wasn't an accident. It captured the mood of the mid-90s perfectly. The struggle between fitting in and standing out, the quiet war between expectation and authenticity. And Jill's voice, plaintive yet defiant, carried those contradictions beautifully. Her manager, John Porter, released a heartfelt statement following her passing, describing Sobule as a force of nature and human rights advocate whose music is woven into our culture. He expressed his hope that her music, memory, and legacy continue to live on and inspire others. And how could it not? Jill Sobule didn't just write songs. She wrote emotional blueprints, timeless and alive with feeling. Her work has always been about more than just melodies and lyrics. It's been about people, about identity, about the moments that define us and the courage it takes to claim who we are in a world that doesn't always make that easy. Long before she became a charting artist, Jill's journey was already in motion. Her first album, Things Here Are Different, was released in 1990 and produced by none other than Todd Rundgren, a rock legend in his own right. That album featured Too Cool to Fall in Love, a song that hinted at her wry, self-aware songwriting style and her ability to take personal experience and translate it into universally resonant art. The album may not have been a commercial juggernaut, but it was the spark that lit the flame of a career defined by thoughtful rebellion and unexpected honesty. Over the course of her career, Jill Sobule would go on to release a total of 12 albums, each more daring, vulnerable, and socially engaged than the last. Her songs tackled a spectrum of complex issues: capital punishment, disordered eating, mental health, religious dogma, and the often painful intersections of gender and identity. Yet despite the heaviness of her subject matter, her music never felt burdensome. Instead, it shimmered with empathy and cracked with dry humor. She had a gift for taking difficult truths and wrapping them in melodies that were both disarming and unforgettable. One of the defining characteristics of Sobule's career was her willingness to collaborate and share stages with other legends and activists. She performed alongside the likes of Neil Young, Cyndi Lauper, and Tom Morello. a testament not only to her talent, but also to the respect she commanded within the industry. Those who knew her spoke often of her warmth, her sharp wit, and her relentless curiosity about the world. She wasn't interested in superficial fame. She was interested in connection, in real stories, in overlooked lives, in honest conversation. Her concerts often felt like intimate gatherings rather than performances. She didn't just play for her audience. She engaged with them, invited them in, made them feel seen and heard. In 2009, Sobule released her seventh studio album, California Years, a crowd-funded project long before platforms like Kickstarter became common. Always ahead of the curve, she reached out directly to her fans for support, and they responded with enthusiasm. It was a testament to the relationship she had built with her audience, a bond that went beyond admiration and into community. The album was intimate and reflective, an ode to life's strange and beautiful in-betweens. But after California Years, Jill took a step back. Life, as it often does, pulled her in different directions, and she entered what she would later call a period of procrastinatrix. She wasn't gone, but she was quiet. The break stretched on longer than she'd expected, nearly a decade. But it wasn't wasted time. In 2018, she made her triumphant return with Nostalgia Kills, a project that felt both like a continuation and a new beginning. In an interview with Billboard that year, she admitted, "I started loving music. Again, loving listening, loving writing, and the original spirit of why I did this in the first place, I suppose." Her voice was older, wiser, perhaps a little weathered, but still unmistakably hers. The album was a heartfelt reflection on memory, change, and the bittersweet ache of time passing. A reminder that the past never fully lets go, but it doesn't have to define us. Sobule also spoke candidly about how much she cherished performing. "I love telling the stories of the songs," she said, and anyone who attended her shows could attest to that. Her concerts were as much about the between-song banter, the anecdotes, the confessions, the laughter, as they were about the music itself. She made audiences feel like old friends. She opened up her world and let people in, flaws and all. It's part of why her fans didn't just admire her. They loved her. In the final months of her life, Jill was still deeply engaged with her art. According to her official website, she was scheduled to perform in Colorado this very weekend, with more dates lined up across the United States throughout the summer and fall. She had no intention of slowing down. If anything, she seemed invigorated by the prospect of connecting once again with the communities that had supported her for so long. The fire that claimed her life may have taken her body, but her spirit, that indomitable, creative, compassionate spirit, was still in full bloom. Plans are already underway for a formal memorial later this year, a celebration of her life and the indelible marks she left on music, on culture, and on countless individuals who saw in her songs a mirror of their own souls. It is expected to be a deeply emotional event, attended by fellow artists, activists, family members, and the legions of fans who have followed her for decades. People will speak of her talent, yes, but more than that, they will speak of her heart, the way she made them feel, the courage she gave them, the memories they made because her music gave them permission to be themselves. Jill Sobule is survived by her brother, her sister-in-law, her nephews, cousins, and a wide network of friends, collaborators, and kindred spirits. But her true legacy lives on in the millions of lives she touched through her songs. In every person who ever found solace in her lyrics, who ever felt understood because of her honesty, who ever felt brave enough to be different because Jill Sobule was brave enough to sing about it first.